Path of Exile 2. Then, top PoE content creators and players alike accuse Musk of being boosted, right? Releasing evidence that someone else had leveled and geared the characters on his account. But also, since then, we've seen people like Screamheart, who's played high-end Diablo 4 content with Musk, coming to his defense and saying that it's not hard to believe that Musk is a nerd. Right, and in that short video, it included a small clip of Asmongold saying,
There's no way he played that account. Like, I'm sorry. I think he for him 100%.
Which then resulted in Musk actually replying to that short segment of the video saying, Asmon behaves like a maverick independent, but in reality has to ask his boss for permission before he can do anything. He is not his own man. With the men actually going on to leak DMs that he had with Asmongold. Though really, like, if you look at the DMs, all it appears that it exposes is that Elon Musk doesn't understand how part of the creator community works. Because in the DMs, it looks like they're talking about making an account for something, to which Asmon says, I'm gonna see if my editors might want to make a second account. With Musk then asking who the editors are, and Asmon replying saying that two people essentially run his YouTube channel, and that, quote, basically any content I post is edited or uploaded by them, and they just get a cut of the ad rev. With him saying it's a super good system. To be honest, almost everyone on YouTube does it. Right, so it just sounds like he's describing the relationship of a producer, editor that handles an account so that a streamer can just stream. But anyway, Musk then also bashed Asmon directly, saying, I'm on hundreds of streams on YouTube/Twitch playing live with the world's best players. No other way to say this, but while Asmon is good at caustic commentary and making fun of people, he is not good at video games. Which Asmon actually jokingly replied to this and said, leaking my DMs is one thing, but this is absolutely difficult. Though it also appears that's only part of the retaliation that happened against Asmongold, because people then noticed that Asmon didn't have a blue check mark anymore and assumed that Musk had removed it. With Asmon's own YouTube channel, and so generally, with everything here, you had people both that like and dislike Asmongold saying that Elon Musk really hasn't fully addressed the allegations and he's just kind of looking bad right now. Because again, I don't think most people are saying that he's never played these games or he doesn't play these games. People are accusing him of being a lying weirdo, saying, you know, he's a...
Hope will find a way, even when all is forlorn.
As far as my opinion, this is just so weird. Everything's weird and lame about this. Like, you know, there are a few things up in the air. It appears that Asmongold has his blue check mark again, though it's entirely possible he just paid for it again. You know, no one's really said anything. And for me, I just think it's a very bad look for Musk to be leaking DMs and also completely, in my eyes, missing what was happening in those DMs. But you know, that's just my take, and whether you agree or disagree, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this or anything else that stands out to you in those comments down below. Well, you maybe leave that comment or you're just digesting the weird lameness of that first story. Let me say, sup you beautiful bastards. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, the daily dive into the news, how it's being covered and how people are reacting to it. This, of course, is your last show of the week, because I got a brand new show for you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. And today, like seemingly every day of 2025 so far, we have a lot we need to talk about today, so let's just continue with this. Have you ever looked at an ad and you were like, what were they thinking? Well, in today's episode of Advertising Got Wrong, we have Pakistan International Airlines. And that is because they're currently in hot water with their government after they decided to announce that their airline is resuming flights to Paris, which is something that you would think to yourself, well, how the hell are they gonna land in hot water? That's nothing. Well, here is the ad they put out into the world to make the announcement. A passenger jet that could be seen as barreling towards the Eiffel Tower with the caption, Paris, we're coming today.
Welcome to Mobile Legends!
Close to imagery from the 9/11 attacks. With the post just blowing up, right? People calling
5 seconds till the enemy reaches the battlefield. Smash them!
Some asking or joking, is this a...
Ultras
There's also some
deployed.
out there who are saying, you know, any publicity is good
It is
publicity.
love
Or with
that
some
keeps
arguing
us
that the airline has had a lot
alive.
of views with this post, and everyone's now aware that they have flights to Paris. So among the fans for this ad was not the Pakistani finance minister who called the ad. Stupid and confirmed the prime minister had ordered an investigation into how exactly this ad got greenlit. Now with all this, we hadn't gotten a statement or any sort of response from the airline itself or the investigation, but when we look into it, what we actually do know is that this is the latest problem.
I'll be the beacon that guides Nefertiti through the dark.
But back in November, that whole movement stalled because the only bidder offered less than 12% of the asking price of $20 million. And that's without mentioning the controversies
For the fallen.
back in 2017 when ground crew members sacrificed a goat on the tarmac for good luck. And then, you know, there's also questions about safety standards, which the whole reason this announcement is coming is because EU's aviation safety agencies lifted their ban on the airline. And in fact,
There's no farther for us to fall.
What do you think, like, what in your memory, what is etched in your memory as the worst ad you have ever seen? Because there are definitely some contenders out there for this one. Then, to switch to really, really big social media news, both the Biden administration and Donald Trump are now
This is
reportedly
not
considering
the end
stopping
for us.
the TikTok thing. So I would say to the Biden administration, you're the ones who wanted this. And you, for some reason, waited till there was 30 seconds till the final buzzer? Did it take y'all till now to try to figure out a plan because you were so busy trying to find your fucking clown shoes? I apologize. The opinion section will be after the story. So let's walk through this. The ban is supposed to take effect on Sunday, but on Monday, Donald Trump will be the president. Sources told the Washington Post that they're considering an executive order that would suspend of the ban for 2 to 3 months in an effort to negotiate the sale of the platform. So with that, I'll say it's pretty unclear if an executive order like this would actually work. And I understand I said all of this as the Supreme Court has not yet issued a ruling regarding the hold the ban before. So regarding Trump and the order you have to watch explaining the strategy of using the executive order has doubts among some legal observers argue the president's will not entirely overcome
the
a law that
silence of Necrokeep is too cold,
but
too loud.
Trump still seemed adamant that they'll try something. Mike Waltz, Trump's incoming national security advisor, telling Fox News yesterday, TikTok itself is a fantastic platform. The algorithm is amazing. We're going to find a way to preserve it, but
it is a blessing to bloom and to wither.
Kind of a funny plot twist that Trump saved yet. Because even though in recent months he has been pro-TikTok, you might remember a few weeks ago, he was pushing for a ban during his first term. But like I mentioned at the beginning of this story, he's not the only one considering it. There are also reports that Biden
does not
is trying
erase.
to find a way to step in. And that's again, even though Biden himself signed the ban just last year with administration officials news here. Americans shouldn't expect to see TikTok suddenly banned on Sunday and an option. And again, this feels like clownish offset behavior. The guy literally gave his farewell address last night. But also with this, I will say, if places like NBC reporting that even if the Biden administration
tears and laughter,
plan,
such extravagant phrases.
The problem with Trump. But with also some reports saying that Trump could opt to just not enforce the ban point blank. Though, as we've talked about in the past with the companies that could be penalized for not complying, they probably want more than a wink, wink, thumbs up that they're not going to get in trouble. So it's expected that as long as there is
for one day, Necrokeep will bathe the daylight.
TikTok by another 270 days. You know, that is something to look out for. In the meantime, we have people looking for alternatives. And like we talked about earlier
I
this
was
week,
supposed to marry him.
migration to the Chinese
And
app
this gown.
Red Note. That migration has only gotten bigger, with reports saying that Red Note has gotten over 700,000 new users in just 2 days. But also, just today, you had CBS News doing a report noting that it's not free from ban concerns either, with a U.S. official telling them that it could
killing spree.
Adding, this appears to be the kind of app that the statute would apply to it to face the same restrictions as TikTok if it's not divested. With also one cybersecurity expert saying Red Note was never meant for outside of the China market, saying all of the data sharing and all the servers which data
mind your steps, visitor.
in China.
For Necrokeep is cold and we hold our ground.
Government noting its terms and conditions in Mandarin, leaving non-Chinese speaking users unclear about what data is collected and how it's used. So a big key thing I will say here is that the TikTok users that have moved over very clear, they do not get a flying buck about giving their data to China. With some even saying they'll get it in person. For now, who knows what the hell's gonna happen? By the next time you see my face, it might be fucking Mr. Peacock for all I know. If you can't tell, just the handling and the backtracking and just the sheer stupidity.
I'll be the beacon that guides Necrokeep through the dark.
Very much feel like there aren't adults in the room. Maybe there are never adults in the room. And then we'll get back to the news in just a moment. But you know, for many of us,
there are memories. Time does not erase.
Top of the list for a lot of people, but let's also not forget our four-legged family members and the importance of their health. Because I mean, some real talk. As our dogs get older, they do the same stuff we do. Metabolism, less energy, the work. What I love about today's sponsor, Sundays, is their ingredients. Think human-grade ingredients. We're talking real meat, organic, superfood, zero artificial junk. What's really cool is its air dry feature, so you can store it easily without taking up fridge space.
The silence of Necrokeep is too cold.
Initiate that who knew that kibble just wasn't cut, but he didn't have time for home cooking, because I mean, who actually does that? I started my dogs on it early, and they still love it. I mean, it's not too late to start a healthy food plan for your dog, no matter what age. Plus,
it is a blessing to bloom and
so if you're ready to
wither.
upgrade your dog's diet, just head to sundaysfordogs.com/get 50% off your first order of Sundays. That's 50% off your first order of dog food with human-grade ingredients. Remember, sundaysfordogs.com/Phil. Your dog will be happy you did.
There's no farther for us to fall.
We're going to talk about an unlikely duo, the Supreme Court and porn. Right, in that, because during oral arguments in a case yesterday, the High Court justices signaled that they are likely to uphold the Texas law requiring age verification for porn sites. A move that many say would roll back not only the first amendment for porn, but potentially even open the door to broad restrictions on speech. Because specifically, the law in question requires people to verify their identity and prove that they are over 18 in order to access the website where a third of the content is being called sexual material harmful to minors. With that law then also mandating the site
this is not the end for us.
biologically. Proven on brain development, which is also widely disputed by experts. Now, also notably here, Texas is just one of the states that have been focused on age-gated Japan, which we talked about at the time. Those laws have then resulted in all those states, which has essentially made one of the world's most popular and well-known adult sites far south. But in Texas, Pornhub and other adult industry groups sued, claiming that the law violated the First Amendment and the identity verification requirement raised very serious security and privacy concerns.
Shame
with them
on
arguing
you.
that users
Monster kill.
packed, sold, or opening them up to identity theft or possibly extortion. And this is the adult content group noted that the law has a loophole effective, saying it doesn't access porn on social media or other sites where less than a third of the
Mind your
content is
steps,
sexual
visitor.
material. And saying
For
at the same
Necrokeep
time,
is
the law
cold
leaves
and
this,
hostile.
we call it loophole, because it also restricts access to other sites that are mostly devoted to content that isn't sexual. And initially, what we saw is that a federal
Your team destroyed a turret.
Effect. Though there, it did strike down the
Our
warning
turret has been destroyed.
And in the decision, the appeals court justices cited a 1968 Supreme Court ruling that upheld a law making it a crime to sell pornographic magazines to minors. But then, of course,
For one day, Necrokeep will bathe the daylight.
The plaintiffs argued that the court had erred, noting that there was a much more recent,
Our turret is
applicable
under
Supreme
attack.
Court ruling that could be applied. Because back in 2004, the High Court struck down a similar federal law that aimed to protect
Legendary!
porn, ruling that
was
states can restrict
amazing!
minors' access to sexual
Double
content,
kill!
any laws that might limit adults' rights to
Does
free
it
speech need to
expire?
undergo the most rigorous legal standard called strict scrutiny. So we'll say that to get too deep into legal jargon, all you really need to know is that
Request backup.
standard is basically says that
Mind your steps, visitor. For Necrokeep is cold and hostile.
Destroyed a turret.
and safety. And then
Request
the law
backup.
also must be designed to advance that public interest in a way possible. And if that sounds like an almost impossibly far, it's because
We hold legendary.
so in the 2004 Court ruling, the justices applied that standard instead. Federal law violated the First Amendment, arguing that there was a less restrictive way to porn. The writing at the time, instead of requiring every porn website to verify the age of every
For the
user,
fallen.
the government
Legendary.
content blocking or filtering software. But that was a major departure from the 1968 ruling, which used the most lax
Taste the despair.
basis review, which just says that a law needs to have a legitimate purpose. So, like, almost all that. Or, as the Washington Post said, in other words, Texas
Legendary.
today more
Erase.
closely resembles that of 1968, when it was clear that shopkeepers could distinguish kids from grown-ups at a glance.
It
When
is
their
a
arguments
blessing to
before the Supreme
bloom
Court yesterday,
and
lawyers for
to
Pornhub
wither.
argued that the 2004 decision and the strict
We hold our ground.
relied on applied to as well. What I'm saying, like, in that case, they let
Leave.
parents to protect their children using content filtering software. But that then drew objections from several justices, including Amy Coney Barrett, who referenced her own 7 children.
Kids can get online porn through gaming systems, tablets, phones, computers. Let me just say that content filtering for all those different devices, I can say from personal experience, is difficult to keep up with.
You also then had Samuel Alito chiming in.
Do you know a lot
Your
of
team destroyed
parents
a
who are
turret.
more tech savvy than their 15-year-old children?
There's a huge volume of evidence that filtering doesn't work.
So here I will say my favorite sentence
Despair. Shame on you.
Well, Your Honor, if we're talking about the youngest minors, I would agree that most of it is, and that is how we read the law.
Is it like the old Playboy magazine you had?
Ally has slain
Not in that sense, but in the sense you have sexual wellness posts, women recovering from hysterectomies and how they can enjoy sex.
Fear.
On the discussion of age verification.
Gather and
proposals,
ambush.
Despair.
Slain an enemy.
it should
Life
be
wasted.
Beyond all that, we saw a number of justices mainly favoring a point made by lawyers.
Your team destroyed a turret.
2004 that had made porn so
Killing spree.
and several justices making it clear that they believe that the rules that govern online porn must be flexible enough to allow some there, I would say, we also saw that
It's just got to be the case that states can do some regulation in this area.
right, and so then, with all this, the question is if block this law, how broad their ruling is going to be.
Mega kill.
What
Team
the
destroyed the
regarding
turret.
which of these apply to regulating online porn. Will they go
Ally has been slain.
or will they go with more of There, if you have experts saying black standard, it could have a sweeping impact across the internet. But there's also seeing free speech advocates.
Victory!
This is just a part of the conservative attempt to crack down on free speech, the waive or restrictions on content around gender identity and reproductive health. Or, as one expert wrote in Vox, another question is, if the court permits age gating, what sort of content will the court allow the government to place a gate around? Could the state of Florida forbid children from reading a transgender author's memoir of their transition? Or could it similarly prevent gay teenagers from accessing online forums where queer people discuss their sexuality? But for now, we're gonna have to wait to see what the court decides. But then, shifting to absolutely massive international news, the Israel-Hamas agreement, right, what was supposed to be a ceasefire that started this weekend, it's already hit the first roadblock. But you know, when the three-phase ceasefire and the hostage release deal was announced, I was like, oh, that could happen, but this is like a land speed record. Right, and to recap, the first phase would reportedly involve the release of 33 hostages and hundreds of Palestinian prisoners, the daily entry of 600 trucks of humanitarian aid into the territory, partial withdrawal of Israeli troops, and the return of Gazans to the northern part of the Strip. But then the hope being that during the first phase, the second phase would be negotiated, which would involve both sides declaring what they called permanent cessation of hostilities, Israeli forces withdrawing from Gaza, and the remaining living hostages being traded for more Palestinian prisoners. And then, you know, hypothetically, phase 3, that would involve the return of the remaining bodies and the start of Gaza's reconstruction. But also, like we talked about, even after the announcement, there were reportedly a few details that still needed to be ironed out. So with that, right, Israel's acceptance of the deal, it won't be official until it's approved by the country's security cabinet and government. And that cabinet vote, it was meant to take place today. Then, Israeli PM Bibi Netanyahu saying it wasn't going to happen. Them accusing Hamas of creating what he called a last crisis and reneging on parts of the agreement reached with the mediator.
Hope will find a way, even when all is forlorn.
Certain terrorists unacceptable to Israel. Them then also claiming that there were last-minute disagreements about how Israeli forces would be deployed along Gaza's border with Egypt during phase 1. But on the flip side of this, you had one senior Hamas official reportedly
Hope will find a way, even when all is forlorn.
As Netanyahu's mosque holding things up, the Israeli military continued its attacks on Gaza. But reportedly, those airstrikes killing at least 77 people just since the announcement of the deal last night. And reports claiming that those dead include at least 20 children and 25 women. Now with all that, right, you have some skeptical of the claim that Hamas was the reason, or at least the only reason for the delay, with people pointing out, for example, that Netanyahu was under pressure from his far-right allies. Because going back, when Netanyahu regained power for a second time back in 2022, he did so by forming an alliance with Itamar Ben-Gvir and his Jewish Power Party, as well as Bezalel Smotrich and his religious Zionism party. Now Ben-Gvir, the Minister of National Security, and Smotrich, he's the Minister of Finance. And a key thing is that both of them have long opposed any kind of deal with Hamas. And in fact, they and other members of their parties have repeatedly threatened to abandon the coalition if a deal was finalized, which is a move that could potentially bring down Netanyahu's government, which is also a situation that some critics have said would give him less of a chance of finding a way out of the corruption charges that he's facing. And with all that, today,
Welcome to Mobile Legends!
condition for remaining in Netanyahu's coalition would be a return to fighting at the end of the first phase.
5 seconds till the enemy reaches the battlefield.
The coalition if
Smash
the ceasefire
them.
deal is approved, and saying that it would
All troops deployed.
It is love that keeps us alive.
Back, saying he would block any attempt to
Taste despair.
the deal, saying in a statement, "This is more important than all the differences of opinion there have ever been between us." So with that, the ceasefire is still expected to be approved at some point, with an Axios correspondent claiming that the remaining disputes have been sorted out and that the Israeli cabinet will now convene to approve the deal tomorrow. So on the U.S. side, we got John Kirby, for example, the National Security Council spokesperson, claiming that the deal will not break down and saying that the administration is confident that the deal will be implemented as planned on Sunday. But honestly, here's what I'll say, right? Nothing is done until the ink is dry. Even then, if it is approved tomorrow with everything that we talked about, there's obviously a concern about if and how long it's going to hold. Inconsistency and unexpected have been the only consistent expected things in regards to this. And all of this is, of course, for the hostages and most of their families, and for the people of Gaza, it cannot be soon enough. Then we'll get right back to the news in a moment, but let's talk about travel. With one of them being landed in the country, the carrier hit $1 day national plan that crawls slower than a snail. And 2 gigs of data, I mean, I burned through that before I even get my luggage. But luckily, we have our sponsor, Sailor, the ultimate game changer for travel. So forget hunting down cars and dealing with terrible airport Wi-Fi. This app, it lets you set up high-speed internet for all your devices before you even leave your home. I'm using it on my upcoming trips to do things to eliminate travel drama. One of my priorities in life is just having one fewer thing to worry about. Whether you're just going to one place or you're planning a multiple country visit, Sally's got you covered. You
Mind your steps, visitor. For
Necrokeep
is cold and hostile.
Sims every time you cross a border.
Taste
Coverage in over 180 countries, 8 regions, plans that actually make sense. As far as more reasons for Sally's a traveling best friend, setup takes seconds to work on multiple devices.
For one day,
24/7
Necrokeep will bathe in the daylight.
compatible eSIM, it's easy. Just download the Sally app now, use code Phil at checkout for 15% off. Or use the QR code on screen now and apply code Phil at checkout for 15% off. Just remember,
Tears
Sally,
and
code
laughter.
Phil at checkout
Such
for
extravagant phrases.
headaches, and hello to hassle-free connectivity. But then, for this next story that I want to go to, I actually recorded it while we were on break
The
for the
enemy
holidays,
has
but
slain
honestly,
the
I just
turtle.
haven't been able to get it out of my head since. It's weird, messy, heartwarming, and heartbreaking
Mega
all at the
kill!
same time, so here you go. Today, I want to go a little deeper with you on a little piece of news from back in September that slipped on most people's radar, but it actually rocked an entire
This
world.
is not the end
Really
for us.
interesting, it's going to change a lot. China's foreign ministry held a press conference where they announced that foreigners can no longer adopt any Chinese babies. Because you see, since 1992, when the country's international adoption program began, 160,000 children have
I'll
gotten
be the
adopted.
beacon that guides
The big
Necrokeep
thing
through the dark.
those went to the United States. One of the biggest reasons they had so many babies to give away, and specifically so many girls, was the infamous one-child policy. For 3.5 decades, Chinese parents were losing babies over girls for several different reasons. Mainly, this classic great emphasis, more specific, to make sure that China ended up becoming a bit demographically lopsided. Not only
Shame on you.
well, birth rates have declined. That's why in 2015 the government loosened the policy.
Monster kill!
3 years in 2021. Despite those drastic changes in the other direction,
Double
birth rates
kill!
still haven't recovered, which is one reason that we speculate the government or at least
The
big
silence of
speaking
Necrokeep is too
By the way,
cold.
this has left hundreds
Too
of
loud.
adoptive parents with pending applications first. The margin not only was their opportunity to become parents,
Destroy the turret!
these abandoned kids to live better lives in a good home. And generally speaking, I mean, it seems like there are good homes in every single Chinese adoptee that been about this week. But fans of mostly a child. With them also acknowledging there that they might have faced a tough, uncertain life if they hadn't been adopted.
Legendary!
Worry about orphans left in China, which is why, with all that, they shocked to learn that
My people are calling to me.
to terminate the program. For example, one woman who
For
was
the
found on a
fallen.
street corner in China who was adopted and raised in Texas, telling the outlet, two truths can be held at the same time. I can be grateful and I can have a great relationship with my parents, but I can also still be critical of the systems that caused my adoption. Right? When you actually dig into it, it turns out that transnational adoption isn't always the very thing that advocates pitch it at. The first
Legendary!
higher rates of depression and mental anxiety than non-adoptees. With those rates then going up even further for transnational and racial adoptees. And not only do many of them have no connection to their birth parents, but like regular adoptees, they also lack a connection to their birth country and culture.
There are memories. Time does not erase.
Practically all white community, but it's treated as foreign. They also try to belong.
An enemy has been slain!
Kid with culture and forget where they came from, which is one adoptee explained as like naively hoping that your love
Keep
can
an
just
eye
cover
on
up
the
all
map.
the racism they'll experience, or they can try their best to expose them to the culture that they came from, whether through videos, books, classes, or support groups with other adoptees. But however sincerely they try to be sensitive,
Despair will be
adoptive parents who
dispelled.
often just don't know how to provide the kind of support a
Ally has
non-white
been
kid
slain.
needs. So there being some speculation here, right? Maybe they simply don't understand how racism works, or
Request
tell the
backup.
kid just shake it off, or they pretend it's not a big issue. None of which I will say is to say that transracial
There's
adoption
no
is
farther
really
for
bad.
us to fall.
Plenty of adoptive parents don't build loving, caring relationships with kids. The point is just that the story is much more creative than
Legendary.
adoptive parents saving non-white children
Double
from life
kill.
swallowed. But then also keep in mind, so far we've only talked about what happens get there, right? We still haven't looked at where they actually come from. When you actually start to dig into that question, you pull up a lot of really ugly history. Right? I mean, let's go back to China.
We hold our ground!
If you remember, I mentioned Chinese parents.
Legendary!
Well, sometimes
Destroy the
they actually
turret!
kept their babies in secret, which of course was against the law. So in the late 2000s, reports trickled out detailing how government officials and nonprofits had taken advantage of the policy to seize babies and sell them to family planning would actually prowl around villages for a diaper on a clothesline, listening to the cry of a newborn. But then on the other side, parents also watching out for these officials and scrambling to hide their babies when the bureaucrats came by and they announced the game of cat and mouse. So inevitably, someone would get demand huge fine on the spot. The parents couldn't pay it, and they were left sobbing as their child got driven away in a government van, never to be seen.
Such a
Which is
painful
story after
goodbye.
story following a similar pattern, and mothers saying things like, they grabbed the baby and dragged me out of the
Legendary.
house. I was screaming. I thought they were going to knock me over. Or our children were exported
Launch
abroad like they
attack.
were factory products. They may as well have been products to the officials involved.
There are memories
Thousands of
time
dollars
does
in
not erase.
They, remember, this is rural China that American dollars are worth a lot more than they are in the States. Now, with all that, back when the scandal first blew up, the Chinese government system was limited to a handful of local officials who
For
had been
one
fired.
day,
The reality is,
Necrokeep
we really
will
have no
bathe the
idea how
daylight.
many children
Attack
they
the
have.
turtle.
In many cases, it's impossible to verify the baby's origin
Team
because the paperwork
destroyed
is
the
too
turtle.
American adopted parents get
An ally
adopted
has
that
slain the turtle.
doorstep.
Launch attack.
That's the same story. Eventually, millions of unwanted children in China that they would be left on the street to die if we didn't help. I love my daughter, but if I had any idea my money would cause her to be taken away from another mother who loved her, I never would have helped. Then also at the same time, adopted mother in Philadelphia saying that even if she could find
Despair will be
she could never return her
dispelled.
daughter. A daughter who reportedly at the time she was interviewed was a thoroughly Americanized 6-year-old obsessed with SpongeBob and hating the Chinese culture classes that she was enrolled in. And oftentimes what we see is that the birth parents feel the same way, with one mother telling the Times, "We'd never make her come back because a girl raised in the West wouldn't want to live in a poor village like this. But we'd like to know where
I'll
she
be
is.
the
We'd like
beacon
to
that
see a
guides
picture, and
Necrokeep through
we'd
the
like her
dark.
to know that we miss her and that we didn't throw her away." Also, with as shocking as all this
Your
is, I
team
really do want to make a point that
destroyed
this
a
is not a
turret.
just surface level black and white trying to paint China as an equal culprit sort of
Mind your
situation.
steps,
Well, obviously,
visitor.
there's been a
For
focus here. This
Necrokeep
a
is
problem with the
cold and
global adoption
hostile.
industry itself, and it spans many other countries. Like, for example, you can look at South Korea. They've adopted out some 200,000 babies to the rest of the world, though mostly to the United States. But for decades, their adoption pipeline alternatively described as baby diplomacy, baby wholesaling, and
This
baby
is not
factories,
the
but also
end.
everybody's so depressed. Yes,
Legendary.
1950s. He had American soldiers stationed there impregnating giving birth to great babies that weren't acceptable. And it's also a career was impoverished and devastated by war, so you had the Southern government at the time seeing transnational adoption as a way to bring in foreign currency.
Enemy
Also
has
saving
been
money.
slain. Legendary.
This is at the same time in the West, birth control and abortion created a shortage of adoptable babies. You had demand
Read.
meeting supply.
Taste
Western
the
couples
despair.
desperately wanted babies, and South Korea desperately wanted to settle the mountains. But eventually, the country ran out of misraised babies and needed more supply. So they then turned instead to fully Korean children.
Legendary. You
The
destroyed a
government also
turret.
turbocharging this process by allowing foreigners to adopt children without ever even visiting Korea. They basically took up a newborn baby at an American airport where the kids were shipped by the plane. So the Swiss organization even agencies not by child welfare standards, but by the money that they brought in. With them adding, in the same document, there is quite
For the fallen.
rivalry and competition among the different agencies, and it is not beyond agencies to drive or pressure mothers to
Ally has
release
slain
children.
Lord.
It's not beyond agencies to try to compete with each other for the same child. And the methods they used weren't much different from the China. Agencies claimed that lost children were, actually abandoned
Legendary.
children, making no effort to verify the
There's
origins
no
of the
farther
orphan,
for us to fall.
disguising others as having been born mothers to make them adopted.
Request
Sometimes
backup.
people involved in the system just lied to parents' faces. Like, for example, this one father told the AP that in 1986, the Red Cross hospital told him that his newborn son had serious lung and heart problems, or something that would require a high-risk, very expensive surgery that could leave the baby dead or severely disabled, and he couldn't afford it. So under the hospital's advice, the father gave up his son
Ally
to an
has
adoption
been
agency,
slain.
which would then pay for the surgery and cover the fine. Then hospital staff
We hold our ground.
felt like he the thing is, that boy didn't die. Instead, what had happened is doctors dragged normal baby born. Just like that, he was shipped to the United States. And it not be until 2019 that this boy, now a 34-year-old man named Robert, got a call from the Korean government agency telling him that they had found his father. So in 2020, this guy actually then flew to Seoul, and his long-lost father was so excited to meet him that he ignored the quarantine and went straight to the apartment where he was staying. With Robert throwing
Such a
open the
painful
window and
goodbye.
shouting, "Dad!" which his biological father shouted back, "My son!" And so now Robert visits his birth country often and talks to his dad on the phone every few days. With him telling the AP, "You're constantly in flux between two worlds, the one you could have and should have been in, the one where you are."
Tears
Like
and
with
laughter.
China, we'll never really know
Such extravagant places.
children were stolen from white parents like that.
We
So,
hold our ground.
in 1980, 1997, records show that more than 90%
enemy
of
has
children
been
sent to the
slain.
West almost certainly had known relatives. And then adding there,
Double
the number
kill.
of children sent to adoption was often
It is a blessing
higher
to
than
bloom.
the police count.
An enemy has been slain.
2005. So as all these adoptees who died in South Korea and other countries became adults, they started looking to their parents and scrutinizing origin stories that they just believed. And we've seen the fruits of all that in the past several years as governments tighten up their transnational adoption programs. For example, South Korea
I'll be the beacon that guides Necrokeep through the dark.
Admitted their cases to you, which could absolutely be used because depending on how adoptees can use it to take legal actions against agencies or the government. And this is recently we've seen European countries investigating and restricting it altogether, shutting down their transnational adoption programs. From the Netherlands, Denmark,
Tears and
Sweden
laughter.
to Norway,
Such
Switzerland,
extravagant
and France.
graces.
Although the United States hasn't taken any action.
We hold our ground.
So the number of inter-country adoptions to the U.S. has plummeted. 1,000 where this with that, of course, I'd love to know or an adoptive parent, or you work in the system, or you just have, once again, any thoughts on this. I'd love to hear from you in those comments down below. Yes, this is a news show, but I also like it to be kind of a one-on-one, but also a group conversation. But then finally today from Matt, let's talk about yesterday and some commentary. We're diving into the comments of today's video. A lot of them had to do with Elon Musk accusations and scandals. Many of y'all the accusations that gamers out there have made against Elon Musk and saying things like, it blows my mind that Elon Musk simultaneously wants us to believe that he's actively working as CEO of multiple companies, raising 10+ kids, and grinding multiple video games to the max rank. There's 24 hours in a day, bro. Along with saying things like, I like how Elon has lied about his degrees, stock values, taxes, Hyperloop, company goals, company worth, his PhD offer, for cryptocurrency,
There's no
Twitter,
farther
etc. Fraudulent gamers somehow survived. Some of y'all describe the situation as, imagine if Musk was claiming to be one of the greatest grandmasters in chess of all time, and then tried to show off his skills, he looks confused about how you're supposed to move your pawns. That's basically what he's doing. And while obviously people can believe Elon, or really anyone, what kind of just general and more universal is, I like this comment from Blair that read, I once remember a businessman saying, and I'm paraphrasing, but something like, I like to play golf with someone because if they cheat, it shows that if they're willing to lie about something that's small, who knows what else they're lying about. So we all saw things that saying, either I cheat or we're gonna be there all night. And yeah, honestly, as long as we're not playing for money, drop the ball. Yeah, you hit it there. I believe you. I'd rather that than you I've been seeing these comments popping up, someone saying I enjoy the new Phil talking in the corner of the screen format, which I'll say I'm glad you like me and the new Lil Phil. That's what we call them, or rather comments about Trump and Biden and Israel and Hamas. But for example, Lee Miller is saying, I'm sorry, but, quote, the incoming U.S. president is so unhappy with Hamas and Netanyahu agree they'd rather kill each other. It's not the flex people think it is. I'm glad there's a ceasefire, but to give Trump any credit for being anything other than insane and unpredictable is insulting to everyone involved. But also, here's what I'll say. This is an opinion section. Once again, we should not get too far ahead of ourselves. We need to see how the hell this is going to even play out just this weekend, let alone if this thing can get to the phase 2 portion of what's been talked about. But, you know, that country's leader, has been a big part of international politics since forever, especially when it has access to weapons and/or the largest military in the world. I'm not saying it should be the preferred method, but I mean, North Korea wouldn't be if they didn't have a perception of being a crazy person having a nuke. So I think if there's anyone out there that's denying that Trump could have anything to do with it, I'm not gonna say it was like the main mover or anything. I would personally think that's short-sighted thinking. And in this particular situation, once again, we have to see how it plays out. I think Netanyahu is inclined to try to give Trump some sort of win. And then also with this, I understand why there would be concern about how this will play out in every single matter. Whereas something else responded, let's see how long being unhinged and unpredictable gives positive results. Right? And, you know, I think that's a valid concern in a number of avenues. With our enemies regarding escalation, with our allies or even those on the fence regarding alienation. Because it's not a secret that on the world, China are fighting for influence. Right? I mean, you constantly see the jockeying with countries like India. I mean, you see all of the negotiations and the infrastructure in Africa. Yeah, you know, time will tell how all this is going to play out. But on that absolutely cheery note, that is going to be where your Thursday evening, Friday morning dive into. Unfortunately, we will not see each other for 3 whole days, because remember, you'll get a new episode every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Though I am playing with the idea of in 2 weeks starting to go from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We'll feel it out. With that said, thank you for watching. I'll see you right back here on Monday.
Elon lost the faith and trust of the Reddit crowd. So now he's losing the annual crowd.
Hope will find a way. even when all is
Good
forlorn.
lord, look at the views on this Charlie video, huh? Elon Musk pathetic meltdown, 531,000 views 1 hour ago. Sheesh! Okay, for those of you who don't know, for those of you who are unaware, for those of you not in the know, Elon Musk has for at least a year now been pretending to be a world-class player at certain Western action RPGs, particularly Diablo 4 at first, and now Path of Exile 2. Let's get the full context in here, okay? A while ago, Elon Musk played Elden Ring, and he posted a screenshot of the build that he was running, which was so funny that it became infamous. If you're not very familiar with Elden Ring, like you don't know how the game works or know what the items do or whatever, that's fine. I'm not going to waste time explaining it. The basic gist of it is, if you know how Elden Ring works, you look at this and this image is very funny. It betrays the fact that Elon has no idea what he's doing, and not in an endearing, oh, he's figuring the game out kind of way, but in a more persistent, he's actually put a lot of time into this and still doesn't know what he's doing in really obvious ways. Like, again, if you're looking at this and you get it, okay. If you don't get it, that's fine. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time explaining. I think this could have come across as quite endearing if Elon was basically like, yeah, I'm busy with my companies, I've been playing some Elden Ring because it's been really good, I'm not that great, but here's my build or whatever, and people would have seen it as like an endearing, down-to-earth kind of thing, you know? People would have thought like, okay, Elon's not a super-duper Elon, you know, like Elden Ring gamer lord or whatever, but it's cool that a guy that rich and powerful still plays video games. And I fully believe he's playing this, by the way, because it looks so bad. No one would fake this. That would be silly. Anyway, apparently the derision he got from this really got to him, because over the past year or so, he has been taking credit for the performance of one particular character in Diablo 4 that's been running really high-end rifts. He's been taking credit, he's been saying he's one of the top Diablo 4 players out there, and I accused him a long time ago. I said this was botting, or that he was paying somebody else to play the account for him. It takes an enormous amount of time to get to the top of the leaderboards in a game like Diablo 4 or even Path of Exile or whatever else. Like you have to put in so much time. It's not even a skill thing necessarily. It's a time thing, you know? But if you knew even a little bit about Elon and the way those games were being played, it was pretty evident that it was being faked, and as it turns out, yeah, it was being faked. About a week ago, Elon made the mistake of live streaming some of his gameplay to XD Everything app, and people picked apart the video footage and found extremely compelling, obvious, undeniable evidence that Elon was lying. Not only was Elon lying, okay, not only was he paying Chinese people to play it was in this case Path of Exile 2 game up to a very high level. Not only was he lying about that, he was arrogant enough to think that he could play with his bot account and live and convince people. And it turns out this goes really deep now. There were points where Elon Musk was pretending to live stream games, but was actually just like in the camera while video footage of the game was playing. During the gameplay footage that he was showing, like there was stuff indicating that he clearly had no idea how to use the UI. And the thing that sticks most with me, I guess, is how stupid you'd have to be as Elon Musk to think people wouldn't notice that you're faking. Like, seriously think about that. Think about how arrogant you would have to be, or how desperate you'd have to be for accolades. And I think this is fully because of the embarrassment that he felt with the Elden Ring thing, with him screenshotting that build, back when he did actually play that game. Like, it's like genuine. It'd be like taking credit for somebody else's basketball play, and then you're like, all right, man, time to show you all the reason why I'm #1, and you go out there having never played a game of basketball, or paying someone else to boost your chess.com account, and then you're like, yeah, man, I'm like 2100 ELO. I'm pretty darn good. I'm gonna go out there and do some matches myself and live stream it so people can see how good I am. And then you're like clubbing every single game because you have no idea what you're doing. It's insane. Why would you even fake it? Because I genuinely think that his ego was hurt by the way people were mocking him. Elon's a narcissist. It's not enough that he be the wealthiest and most powerful man on earth, which he is. He also has to be beloved and perfect at everything. The problem is he's genuinely really stupid and insecure, so he's not capable of like laughing off the mistakes. You know what I mean? It refers both to like a lack of intelligence, like genuinely below average, and a critical personality failure. So all of this is pre-existing context, and nothing that I've said, by the way, is in doubt. Like, all the stuff about him faking the gaming, this is not in question. Everyone has accepted this. Everyone agrees. It's been found. To the point where channels like Asmongold, you know, pro-Trump slop channels for low IQ game talk, have been covered. Elon Musk is not getting away with this. Asmongold reacts to, of course it's reacts to, that's Asmongold's preferred way of engaging with content. Not that I'm one to talk. Elon Musk, fraud gamer, scandal clueless, boosted fake, bold text. This man is not gaming. His is not world first. World's richest billionaire replaced by H-1B Indian. Chinese, actually, but, you know. Where Asmongold, I mean...
Why is it that Elon Musk cares so much about H-1B visas? This explains it. He wants to get the people that are playing his accounts into America so he doesn't have IP address conflicts and get his account flagged. Now everything makes sense.
I never liked how to play video games. At one point I was, you know, maybe one of the best Quake players in the world.
You're actually like a world-class, incredible video game player. Yeah, Paragon board and the build, you're also an innovator there.
Yeah,
So, again, it's a personality defect, really. You know it's gotten bad when channels like Asmongold are covering this negatively. The whole, by the way, if you want to watch like a total summary of like the extent to which Elon Musk has been caught on this, you can go ahead and watch the Asmongold video. I covered like before a Reddit thread detailing specific obvious tells in a clip from one of his live streams. The total evidence of him being a freak over this is massive. It's not just one live stream. It is over years of lying about his gameplay, pretending, taking accolades for it, like doing this pantomime, this theater. Absolutely insane. It's pretty crazy, but it gets funnier. So Elon is not a person, he's an empty husk, and he views things like art and games in particular as nothing more than like a vehicle by which to affirm himself and fill his empty heart with the affirmation of others. Very typical narcissism shit. You see this sometimes on people in like, it's the kind of stuff that you would see like in people exposed in what, like a Carl Jobs video, you know what I mean? Like speedrunners who cheat, except he's literally the wealthiest person on earth. After Asmongold put out this video, Elon Musk started attacking him on Twitter, unfollowed him, and leaked their DMs.
I'll be the beacon that guides Necrokeep.
Incredible. So Elon has been responding to a bunch of people who have been commenting on the situation because he actually looks at his notifications, which is insane. I have no idea how he looks at his notifications. He's got to have like hundreds or even thousands every minute. I don't know how he parses them. Maybe that's where his IQ... That's the reason why he seems like such a idiot. It's because all of his neurons are being dedicated to actually replying to the people who add him, despite owning the platform and getting added a bajillion times a day. Asmon behaves like a maverick independent, but in reality has to ask his boss for permission before he can do anything. He is not his own man. And leaks conversation with Asmongold, in which Asmongold describes the way in which his channel is managed. And the way in which Asmongold's channel is managed is that two of his editors run his YouTube account. They edit content from his live streams, upload it, and get a cut of the revenue.
Too loud.
Elon is arguing this means his two editors are his bosses. This is how basically every single live streamer's channel is run. This is the most innocuous thing you could call a person out on. You're not even calling a person out on it. There's nothing to call out. This is how every live streamer's channel functions. Is yours run that way too? Absolutely. The live streamer live streams, and then the stuff gets cut up, edited, so on and so forth by the editors who manage the actual production of YouTube content. There are some live streamers who will edit their own content. Obviously, it's more common when you have a smaller channel, but if you have a larger channel, like Asmongold's, huge channel, yeah, this is how it's always... It's not a secret. It's extremely well known. But because Elon is...
does not erase.
The way he is, I'm running out of synonyms for like ableism, basically. I think that Elon thinks that this is an atypical way of running a channel, and that by editors, he thinks Asmongold means editors like at a newspaper. where an editor does a second pass and can block things from the original source. Like an editor in a newspaper doesn't just proofread. They review, assess, and make judgment calls about what's acceptable, accepted. Whereas in a YouTube context, an editor edits the videos. I genuinely think Elon thinks that's what that means. I don't have another explanation for Elon posting this and leaking the DMs. To give you an idea of how perma-online Elon is and how aggressively he's responding to people who are talking about this, a small channel, and I don't know how small their Twitch and YouTube is. I can tell you this much, though. Their Twitter account has 552 followers. Added Elon Musk in the post of a video clip where they're talking about this drama. Elon Musk replied, and that's where you get this from. It got community note. I expect the community note to get removed. Asmongold does not have bosses, he employs